My name's Steve Hartman. I'm deaf. Actually, I'm what's commonly known as deafened. I wasn't born deaf. I got the flu 13 years ago and contracted something called sudden immune deafness syndrome. So within 18 months, I went profoundly deaf. A little bit about, I spent 18 years in the army, come out of the army virtually unscathed, bought a garage. I was a mechanic in the army, bought a garage and started to go down the road. I got the flu, as I say, and I contracted sudden immune deafness syndrome. It's really difficult. Being a mechanic, I couldn't hear the engines, even simple things like wheel bearings, couldn't hear a thing. Tried and tried. I still had a little bit of hearing, no good. In the end, I sold the garage. I couldn't control it. The hospital turned around and I said, what can we do? And she said to me, Steve, the best thing you can do is learn to sign and lip read. And that was it. What do I do? Where do I go? Nothing. So off I went, hunted through the internet, found signing classes and lip reading classes. I met this lip reading teacher named Penny Hunter. Fantastic. I went with her for 2 years and learned to sign at the same time. It was really difficult and most of all really expensive because there is no government funding for when you go deaf. So I picked up the signing quite well, quite easily, quite better than I thought for an old guy. So I'd done my level 1, level 2, and was halfway through my level 3, and the boss at Southend College got hold of me. The tutor there had fallen down and broke her ankle, and they asked me whether I'd go and teach. Never done that before, so I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. So I gave it a go at teaching, loved it. The tutor never came back, so I carried on teaching. Then the rules changed, then you had to have a degree to teach. So, well, what do we do now? Try for the degree. Now that was a lot harder than I thought. Remember, I'm only a mechanic, I'm not an academic. So, part of the way through this degree, I'm sitting there in the classroom, I'm looking like this, and the tutor's talking away, I haven't got a clue, I can't lip read him properly, keeps turning round. And I had a support worker, communication support worker, who was writing down and signing. So half the class would be laughing at something that he said, and I'm sitting there thinking, what's he saying? So my fundings are running pretty low now. So what do? I got a job at Basildon Hospital as a porter to pay for the rest of my degree. It was there that I realised how poor that the help for the deaf was. I think it started out that one day I was called to ITU, and there was 2 children there, 2 Indian children, and their mother was in. The children could sign English, but the mother was Indian and only signed Indian. And the doctor asked me to translate for him what was happening. The father had a car accident, and he actually got out of the car, and another car come along and hit him. So he went down in the road, and it actually compressed his brain. So the father's laying there in bed, and the children are saying to me, what's wrong, what's wrong? And the doctor's saying, he's brain dead. And I'm going, what do you do? So, and they said, we'll try different tests, but we all knew that this was it. They said, would you come back when we get hold of you? I said, yeah. I was was praying that 5 o'clock come along before I had to go back. 4:45, someone come and got me, so I went back. And I'd done the hardest thing in my life, was to tell the children their father was dead. No amount of training in signing can help you. Sign language is very blunt. There isn't gone to sleep, passed away, dead. Nothing. And the children are saying to me, but he's breathing. I say, no, it's the machine that's helping him breathe. I walked away from there, and I don't think I could talk to anyone all night and half of the next day. What it actually done though was it pushed me for the hospital to teach the staff to sign. So I set out on this pilgrimage of teaching the staff to sign. First of all, funding. Well, what's that going to do? How is that going to help? Are we going to stop interpreters? No. Not to stop interpreters. What it is to actually help the patient. The deaf. Being deaf is so isolating. It's untrue. Half of what you see here is a big front. The other half is so isolating, it's untrue. So I said, no, it's to help the deaf, the hard of hearing. So I embarked on teaching at the hospital. Getting the funding to teach is really, 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 really hard, especially in this day and age. I fight every day, every week to get funding. I never give up. When I first started going deaf, I said to my friend, God, I don't think I can do this. And he turned around to me, and it stayed with me to this day. He said, Steve, there's no shame in falling down, the shame is lying there. To which keeps coming back into my mind. The prejudice and the ignorance is difficult. The prejudice, I've had people turn around to me who I knew before, turn around to me, sorry to hear you've gone deaf, Steve, but you're a teacher now. For sign language, aren't you? I go, yeah. Still, best you work with your own kind. And I went, oh yeah, thank you very much. Newly qualified nurses go down the corridor. Oh, you're a porter. Yeah, I'm a porter. Oh. Actually, so I'm a sign language tutor. I have a teaching degree. Oh, okay. I done this, and I set out on this path for one reason, as I say, the patient. It's not me, not the hospital, the patient. I've taught now over 200 members of staff to sign. And it is fantastic to go on a ward where there's a deaf person and someone said, oh, Steve, will you go up and sign for him? And they go, no, it's all right, Steve, we don't need you. Anne's been signing. Who's one of the staff that I've taught to sign? The amount of staff that I've taught, I would say, is 70% between bands 1 and 4 that have come along to the sign language classes. And the amount that have come up to me and said, oh, I've got that job, and I've got that job because I could sign. I had done a different qualification, I've got another qualification, and that picked me at the post to get the job. I think I go through life here and thinking, if you turn around in whatever degree you're in, and more so at the bottom, we regard ourselves as the bottom of the food chain. If you think you can't do it, you won't do it. And people just sit there. give yourself a push. Look at something, aim for it. Give yourself a goal. As I say, I fight the system every day. I have the finance directors ducking in doorways when I walk down the corridor. They tried to cut the funding again, then came up the elections to become a governor. So I put myself up to become a governor, bearing in mind I'm only a porter. I won, I got in, I'm a hospital governor now. But there, the first day, this doctor said to me, "Oh, have you come to push us all about?" And I went, "Oh, have you come to do an operation then?" And he went, "Ha ha," and stopped. So everywhere you go, I think the prejudice on the low part, as someone turned around earlier on, I say the low part, band's wonderful. I think the prejudice there is still there. But you ought to be proud of yourself and push yourself along. If you just sit there and go, you will just sit there and go like that. But find a pathway, follow it, do it, but never, never, never give up. Just keep pushing it, find a different angle. I look for funding everywhere. I look to a man to my right now, who I've met. I want more and more and more hospitals to take up for the deaf awareness. There's nothing worse. I have some arthritis in my hand. I go to see the doctor, and the doctor says, I said, "Will you do me a favour? I'm deaf." He said, "Oh, that's okay." I went, "I'm glad it is for you. But when you talk to me, will you look at me, please? Because I can't read you unless you look at me." "Yep, okay." "Well, I think the best thing we'll try this." "I'm sorry, can you look at me?" "Oh yes, sorry, I forgot." So after the third time that he looked down, I don't bother it no more. So if I don't bother no more, no one else bothers no more. And I just hope to God when I come out there, the nurse that was in there can tell me what he said, because I haven't got a clue what he said. When you make appointments, it's the same thing. The clerk looks down and not up. I want to make it so the clerk looks up. The clerk stares at you. The doctor looks at you. The doctor speaks clearly and not, "Hello, how are you?" Happens. So my sole aim in life is to make the deaf awareness across the board. Difficult, but I'm never, never, never giving up. Why? Because of what my friend said to me. No shame in lying there. So if I can do it, I think anyone can do it. Thank you.